Well, hey, hello, and how are you, everybody? Welcome to the first ever debuted episode of Leading the Charge, the podcast. I'm Dom Tibbetts from 7 Sports WKBW. I'm going to be joined by my co-host. You know him. If you don't know him, I don't know how you don't at this point. Bill's content creator, ex-legend, the man that has made putting light beer into a Keurig a trend among all Bill's Mafia and Western New Yorkers, Brother Bill. Howdy, buddy. How we doing?
I'm good. I'm ready to start this season. It's been a long off season. I'm ready to go.
I can only imagine, like in the off season for you, how often are you just like crafting up new ideas? Like I'm assuming when the schedule gets released in the spring, you're looking at that way differently than like we are. We look at it for like, oh, there's travel schedules. We have all this to do. I'm assuming Brother Bill's looking at that like, all right, I got this idea for the Jets week 2. I've got this for the opener against the Ravens. What is that like?
I'm like the Zach Galifianakis skiff where it's like I look at the schedule and there's like math equations going above my head and like random scenarios of things I have to get done and brainstorm and stuff like that. So it's definitely more calculated. Like I try to get ahead of it a little bit. This summer is a little different because of the wedding and everything. So
that's right. Congratulations, Brother Bill. Is a sorry, ladies. He is a married man.
But but I'm down to business. I've been crafting some things up. Hopefully it's another good season for me.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. So we'll get into that season. We're going to talk about the season outlook, getting into the Ravens game, Sunday night football kickoff, a bunch of other fun things that we're going to get to talk to. Let's start right with this whole familiar faces, like the people that have come back now to the Buffalo Bills. Jordan Poyer came back last week. Gabe Davis reportedly coming back. That's a new one that we're recording this on Tuesday, mind you. So that's the one coming back reportedly today or on Tuesday. But I'm saving one big name for last because there's nobody who's more excited that Jordan Phillips is back in the Buffalo blue and red than you, Brother Bill. Tell us about just your reaction, but also the story of like how you found this out.
Yeah. So, I was fired up because I knew, I guess, a little bit before everybody. So like I had to keep it within and kind of just get excited for myself. But I was super fired up when I found out. And I felt kind of goofy when I posted the screenshot of the text message because I kind of was like playing it cool in the text. And a lot of people were like, that's how you responded to Jordan Phillips? And I'm like, it was like I didn't want a fanboy. So I had to act like it was normal that he was reaching out to me. But he was just like, yo, I was getting out of work. I just cut all day. And I just had like a yo from Big Phil. And I was like, oh, that's wild. And I was just like, what's up? Like, I didn't know what else to say. And then he was like, how are you, man? And I was like, good. Like, how are you? Like wondering, I had a feeling something was coming up for that. And then he was just like, just wanted to say like, let's go Bills and all this stuff. And I was like, oh my God, you back? And he was like, yeah, I'm back. Like, so that was really cool. But he asked me not to share it. So I held it in until the news broke. And then I screenshotted the thing and I was like, is this good? Can I send this now that's broken? And he was like, yeah, go ahead. So then I was able to share our little moment. But dude, he's the man. Like, I love that guy. He's the best.
What was the origination of that? Because like, all right, so Jordan Phillips is back for his third stint with Buffalo. Like famously, the big parka, like the furry hood, like that's what his thing is. And then there's a moment where I think maybe did you make a video on it or did you just start going to games with it? Is that how like you two kind of built that connection?
So I will say this, and it might, people might not believe me, but I've been a fan. Like he's been my guy since he first got here. Like I have a best friend who's a Dolphins fan, unfortunately. And when we claimed him off waivers, like whatever year that was, like 2017 maybe or 18. And I texted him. I was just like, hey, dude, like, what's this guy all about? Like, because I hadn't really, I mean, I watch the Dolphins, but it's not like I keep up with them. And he was like, I actually really like him. He's really good. They just don't play him for some reason. But like knowing you the way I do, I think he's going to be like one of your favorite players. And like, it's funny now, me and him have talked about this too, how funny it is that like, we're like weirdly like kind of friends now. But like I've had his jersey since like he came back the second time from the Cardinals. And then he started wearing the parka. So I would go to winter games with it on. And an opportunity I have a friend who has really good seats. And he offered me they're like 3 rows behind the 50-yard line. And he couldn't make it. So he offered me these seats for like basically just cost. Like there's no added cost to it. So it was like expensive, but like for where it was, I was like, it's worth it. So I bought the tickets, and it was the 49ers game, and it was really snowy.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, oh, I'm gonna go with the park on. But I went knowing like he's gonna see me. Like I'm right behind the bench. Like there's a good shot. He's gonna see me, and it's just hilarious because like I got there, and I had the park on. I had the jersey, and I had it like cropped to like my belly, like how he does.
Heck yeah, dude.
And he
Hell
came
yeah.
out, and he was literally like 2 feet in front of me, maybe. Like we were the first line of fans right at the 50. And he came out, and he was like putting his helmet on that little like hook thing that they have
Right
next to
behind
the
the
bench.
bench. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I was standing up on my bleacher, just like doing like the Jordan Phillips like
Pumping up the
arm
crowd.
raise.
Yeah.
And he's like hanging his stuff up, and he like scanned the crowd, and he did like a look at me, and he like turned, then he like doubled back and like looked, and I was just like doing it like nonstop, and he just started dying laughing. And like throughout the game, he would randomly like point at me and like give me like one of these things. And then the next day he followed me on Instagram and like shot me a DM, and we've been like kind of like boys ever since. So he's the man.
That's I think it's so cool because like there are people like you and I were talking off air about like people who the media like who we get to talk to who like are pretty friendly with us and just like are warm people to talk to. And Jordan Phillips is a quote machine. I also think like Shaq Lawson, like when those two were the same locker room together, like those two had such great energy. And there's a bunch more that we could just name, but seeing I think him back, Jordan Poyer back, Gabe Davis reportedly being back too. And then like Trey has already been back, right? It just feels like, I think when Sunday night comes, it's going to feel like 2021 again. I'm going to like look out in the field and I'll be like, wait a minute. Like I wasn't even covering the team in 2021. So I don't know how to like, even like comprehend the amount of moves they make. The thought around some people today, it's more recently with the reported Gabe Davis signing. It's like, I think people are panicking a little bit. It's not like Gabe Davis they're asking him to come in and be like the wide receiver too. Like he's a practice squad signing. So is Jordan Poyer. And prior to the season-ending Achilles injury to Dwayne Carter, so was Jordan Phillips. But now it's an opportunity for Jordan Phillips, which I'm sure you're ecstatic about. But like it's a guy who feels like he has enough left in the tank to want to come back, try to be productive on defense. And then it's a perfect segue as we get into like Sunday night against a team, Bill, that we know is going to be beyond fired up. I don't even know what the right word is because it's so beyond motivated. Like if you're a Baltimore Raven and you're coming in Sunday night where it all ended in that fashion that it did in the AFC divisional round, you've got to be going for blood, right? Like what do you think about with this matchup Sunday?
Oh, I'm excited. I was at that game, so like that atmosphere was amazing.
One of the coldest, by the way, I've ever like been in.
It was cold,
super cold,
but it was so exciting that like I couldn't even feel my arms anyway, so it didn't matter. And I don't know, that's tough. Like you said, like they lost on it was, dude, when the game ended, I was so positive we were doing it that year. Like how many times has it been just like there's like the luck isn't on our side. Like it always feels like we're just not lucky. And that was like a game where it just felt like things broke our way. Like that the Mark Andrews catch I always say is like it was like angels in the outfield. Like
great
how did he not catch that ball?
Yeah.
Like,
it was right for us. Like I remember that's right in front of our view where we're like, I was next to like, I think Dan Fates, a couple others on the sideline. And like that ball, like I watching come in, I'm like, oh my God, 2-point conversion. Good. Here it is. And then it just fell like at my feet. And I'm like, oh my God, which is like, to your point, the luck thing last year, like Bass nailing that 60-yarder that kind of turned his season around against Miami, like the Mark Andrews. Those things never used to happen to the Bills. It was always like reversed.
I was so positive that like fate was on our side for once in our lives.
If it honestly felt like, do you remember 2021 when like, and I hate to bring up the like when Gabe scores his 4th touchdown, the 13-second, like that, I feel like for Bills fans, the beating Baltimore and finally getting to like go right the ship wrong here or go fix all your problems in Kansas City was very similar to like, oh, it's going to get done the same way we all felt probably before those 13 seconds watching that game. And like, I draw very similar comparisons for Bills fans in terms of like how that all played out. But again, here we are, Sunday Night Football. Is there anything like to you about like the Bills, or just this team in general, that does get you concerned? Like, do you feel good about the Bills' chance? I've like, for me, Bill, I've gone back and forth. I'm like legitimately 50-50. I can make a case for how the Bills win, and I can make a case for how the Ravens win. And I could make a case also too for each team, like it being a close game or one team definitely just like showing that they are way better. I'm very indecisive at this moment. I'm trying to take the easy route out.
It's like you said it good. Like, it's like it could go either way. Like, these are two like powerhouse teams, really. So like probably a teaser for like what will come in January. So I don't know. It's tough. Like, we didn't see a lot of the starters even take a snap in the preseason, which is like, it's like they've all been here so long that like, is it just me being like naive, being like, oh, they should get a series just to get the rust off? Or like, they're pros, they've been here. Like, it makes you feel a little nervous, but then at the same time, you can wrestle it with like, they've been here, they're pros, they're really good. Like, maybe they don't need any tuning up, and that's totally believable. The safeties, I feel like most people probably feel this way. Like, the safeties don't feel like the most confident
for sure.
bunch.
Tons of question marks.
Cornerback twos, I don't even know if Trey's playing. I don't think so. And I guess Ingram, or I don't know. I don't know.
Dorian Strong, Jamarcus Ingram step up.
Dorian Strong. I do like. I really like the Hancock and Strong. I liked in the preseason. Like, I'm interested to see if Hancock ends up working in with safeties at some point with like the starters there.
Yeah.
But that whole unit is like, outside of Benford and Rapp, it's just like you don't really know what's going on. So that part definitely does concern me.
Bill, for you, I actually, this is kind of like an interesting question I just thought of, because for someone like me, like I'm around the team kind of on an everyday basis, covering practice as, you know, journalist, somebody in the media, but I'm curious for like fans, like you live in Rochester, but you aren't able to go to training camp every day. And then when they come back to Buffalo, obviously you're not having the same accessibility. Like, what is your perspective on how like you're tracking this team and how you're keeping up with like all your stuff? Is it just straight social media, watching like Bill's videos, watching other people's? I'm just curious as like how you're, as a fan, keeping up on the same level. Because I will say the one thing I've always been very impressed with Bills fans is how in tune they are with this. So like, and rightfully so, like it's a great fan base and they love their team. But I always think like fan base is so in tune that like you get a couple people who like will say they're like mentioning me or in my DMs or respond to like a tweet or something. And I'm like, that's a really good point, Josh from Cheektowaga. That's good stuff, dude. I'm like, so like, what do you go through just normally on as the season ramps up before we get to the actual games?
Definitely Twitter is like it's like, I always called it like the millennial like newspaper, I guess, like whatever you want to say it, like whatever generation that would be. But it's like you get news right away, all these different people. It's gotten harder recently. I feel like my timeline is like changing daily. So like sometimes I got to weed out through a lot of things to find the Bills stuff I used to be able to just like have always accessible. But that's definitely my best way of doing it. And then I do cut Dan Fates' hair. So every month I get some inside scoop from Dan about like what's going on and all that stuff. So that helps. But mostly Twitter. Like, I'm always on Twitter in between clients and everything. That's like what I go to it's crazy though. It's always funny. Every time something big happens, like I'm a barber. So like I can't like even like, you know, check my phone mid work day. Shout
out to you, by the way. Your client's very happy to hear that you aren't checking their phone while you're just giving them a quick fade on the side. And it's just, oh my God, look at the Bills are reportedly bringing back Gabe Davis. And
dude,
you give someone an unintentional hard part.
That stuff happens all the time where like a client comes in and is like, what do you think about Gabe Davis? Like that happened today. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, dude, you just signed back. And I was like, really? And I had no idea. And like, I think back to the Sammy Watkins trade day when it was like Darby and him got traded. And I had no idea. I had like 5 straight clients or something like that. And my one client came in and he's like, dude, how you taking it? And I was like, what? And then he like told me and I was like, what? Like I had no idea.
He's like, how are you taking it? You're like, I don't know. We can go in on the sides a little bit. Right. Leave a little length at the top if you want.
Even sooner than that was like not this offseason, the one before that when we cut like Poyer, Trey. I think there was like a day where like it was like
Call it Black Tuesday. I think
Yeah,
all
like it
came
was
down
like
a
that.
Tuesday
And
or
again,
something.
I
Yeah,
had
Black
like
Tuesday.
it was like every client who came in had a new guy that got like, dude, did you hear about Poyer? Dude, did you hear about Trey? Dude, did you hear? And I was like, what is happening? Like, was totally out of sync with that until I was able to get to my phone. So sometimes I'm delayed, but like Twitter is definitely the way for me to get news. It's just sometimes word of mouth, I guess, too, in the barbershop.
It's so funny. Like my barber and I will, same thing. You just go back. I mean, that's what being in like Western New York doesn't, it's not Buffalo. You get it in Rochester too. And like, I grew up in Syracuse. You start mixing a little bit of like the fandoms of the Jets and the Giants, and you even get some Patriot fans out there, and then some spattering of other teams, but there's still more centrically Bills fans. Like the talk that everybody just goes through. And like, I feel like now covering the team, I'm just like I feel like the main leeway point of all these Bill centric conversations, like buddies are dishing hot takes. What's funny is like, I get this too, is like someone the other day, or maybe it was like a past, like I'll have buddies who will text me and they'll be like, Dom, can you tell X and X to like ramp it up? Oh yeah, no, sure. Let me just go up to like a 300-pound defensive lineman. Like, let's just use Ed Oliver. Like, let me go right up to Ed Oliver and be like, hey, dude, my buddy Jake from Central Square in New York is really amped up that like you started to pick it up a little bit, but he'd love to see a couple more sacks next game if you could. That's the beauty about Bills fans is stuff like that. So now looking just to the full scope, Sunday night kickoff, by the way, folks, 8:20, Bills Ravens, Sunday night football, going to be a blast. Waiting all day for Sunday night. I can't believe we're also at game week too. It feels like just yesterday we were moving into our dorms at St. John Fisher, and like training camp started, and then Hard Knocks happens, which we'll get to in a second. Bill, I'm going to put you on the spot. What's your record prediction for the Buffalo Bills this year?
I'm going to go like same as last year, honestly. I'm going 13-4. Just feels like that's like our sweet spot to me.
Yeah, I that's the number I've had in my head the entire time until like maybe more so like within the last 2 days. I think 13-4 very achievable. Here's the other thing too. I think they could even do better than 13-4. I do want to factor in I do think they have the division clinch, maybe not as early as they did last year, but I do think they'll have the division clinch. So like that week 18 game, I think it's against the Jets. I'd be very curious to like, that might be like a game where like Josh Allen is just trotting out there and like just doing a play, but it's also the very last game at Highmark Stadium. So I do wonder, it's like, do they really want to go out on a loss?
Yeah.
So I'm going to go the same thing as you. I'm going to stay 13-4, but I'm going to put like a little parentheses with an asterisk and put 12-5 just in case, because you just never know. I think it's very realistic. Again, I'm just like toting the middle line of where to go back and forth here. Is there a player that you feel like is poised for like a breakout season? Is there anybody who maybe just has impressed you that you're like really amped to see them take the next step?
I do feel like, and I don't know if you'd call it breakout because he's like been good for a little bit, but I do feel like Shakir is like gonna be like up over 1,000-yard receiver.
Go to
like,
the next level. Sure.
He's knocking on that door, and like he's just so reliable. And Keon's got like the boom potential, I feel like.
Yep.
And Palmer's there, who's like, I don't know. But Shakir, I feel like, is that like he's just a safety blanket, kind of like Cole Beasley, but like more athletic vibe I get from him. And I just feel like
for sure
last year I think he had a few injuries that I feel like he would have passed 1,000 if not for like everyone being sat that last game. And I think he had like a injury that kept him out of maybe a game or 2 games. I can't remember exactly. But and I have him on my fantasy team, so hoping to get that.
That's a great like 8th, 9th round set. As actually like, he's the one guy I will say like buddies hit me up for like fantasy football advice. Like and more so just about like the Bills and stuff, and like, hey, which guy's standing out? If I know I'm not in a league with you, I'll be a little bit more like thoughtful of my response. But I've actually stopped telling people about Khalil Shakir because I told a couple people about Khalil Shakir last year, and I was like, oh, I can like get him in the 10th, 11th round because no one else is seeing what we're seeing. And then he's gone to the 8th and 9th by the people I told. And I'm like, I got to stop doing this. He's a great steal fantasy football. Why? Also, like to your point too, I think Keon, and I think that like for me, Keon Coleman has to have a breakout season. I think he's in line to. I think he silently has been like showing everybody that he has taken that next step. Dion said something a couple weeks ago that really like caught my attention about like even he's recognizing not like the on the field maturity that has taken place with his game, but also like the off the field stuff, all the little things that matter in terms of what makes a receiver an elite level or working towards an elite level. So Keon Coleman, I think he needs to have one because I also think there's just a lot of question marks on defense, more so in the secondary. The other guy that it's just is not even to break out, you know, I'm honestly so excited to see healthy is Matt Milano.
Yeah.
Like just knock on wood. I have been so impressed watching like healthy Matt Milano. Bobby Babbitt's literally, he won't talk about like, if you're like, how great is it to have Matt be healthy? And he's just like, won't answer questions about him being healthy. It's always great to have Matt out there. And he just leaves it at that. Like a healthy Matt Milano with TB, and whether that's, you know, throwing, you know, Dorian is healthy and they throw in there, I think there's going to be just a huge upside that maybe can take a little bit of pressure off like the secondary and the question marks that you have at safety and cornerback. So
yeah,
very, very excited. Is there anybody else before we kind of segue into the next thing?
Not really, but I was going to say something I'm excited about is the potential of like working in like a 3 linebacker set more often than like they did it in the playoffs against the Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
Like they had like a Milano, Dorian, Terrell Bernard, like group out there. And I feel like that was something McDermott is like usually not willing to like change from his like base defense. And if the safeties are a little weaker, maybe like you do something like that a little more. They're all athletic linebackers. Maybe you put like Taryn in like a safety nickel hybrid, so he's not off the field, and you just have like Rat back there. I don't know.
No, we don't know. That's a beautiful thing. It's already even a week 1. We haven't saw any of the film yet, right. And I'm sure all the big changes, you're not going to see them stray away too far than what you're going to see in the coming week here as we get ready for it. But I mean, like I go back to that Ravens game, like Matt is already such an effective playmaker. So like, it's good to have him out there, but like just having like healthy Terrell Bernard, who has battled his injury, his stuff in recent past, but like Bernard makes that big play on Mark Andrews, forces the fumble. Like, I mean, Von Miller nearly runs it back. So it's just, it's incredible to think like that group being healthy. I do wish that there was more answers in the secondary. I wish there was more solidity, but I also just think too, and like the one thing for the viewers listening, when I sent Bill kind of like the topics and outlines that we were just kind of loosely going off, I like asked him, I was about this question, like, hey, who's going to break out? Who's going to have a good season? In parentheses, I put, just don't say Josh Allen. Because the great thing about the Bills, and I remember having a conversation with a buddy on the golf course last year, and you remember, Bill, like there were so many more questions about what this team is going to be. The schedule was a gauntlet last year, at least on paper it was. Much easier schedule this year, hence why I think you and I think they're going to have, you know, as much success as they had last year. But I remember saying it last year. I was like, Josh Allen will get this team out of so many problems. And like, that's what he does. And it like, he proved it. He won the MVP. I'm sure Sean and Joe Brady would love to have a little bit more, like not having to always lean on him, but at least, you know, in those moments, like the Chiefs regular season game, the first half of the Ravens game, or like
Cardinals first game of the season when we looked like crap, and then he jumped over like 6 dudes for a touchdown.
Right. It's that kind of stuff too.
I remember that game being in the crowd, and I don't remember if we had like maybe like 2 3 and outs to start it. Something not good was happening. I just remember that. I remember just turning to my buddy and I was like, this is gonna be a long season, dude. And it wasn't. Like, it was a great season, but Josh went Superman mode in it, and then it seemed to all just everything fell into place. Yeah.
It's crazy to think like as good as they were, like they looked bad against the Cardinals last year.
Yeah.
So like a lot of us were all like, oh my God, this team might really struggle. But then like, I think like week 3, like when the Jaguars came in on Monday Night Football, like we thought the Jaguars were going to be something and then just obliterated them. And there's so many other cases like that. They go and win big games like in Detroit. And I think that team can very much do that again. So we've talked so much, whether it's just like reporters out there, like buddies, I'm sure you have too. There are concerns. There always are. Every team is not polished and buttoned up, but like you have Josh Allen. So that's going to right a lot of your wrongs every day of the week, twice on Sunday. We are starting to wrap this up. We appreciate everybody tuning in, listening to the first episode. But one of the last things we'll get to here, 2 things actually. Hard Knocks has finished now. We're recording this on Tuesday, so Hard Knocks is in the books. I think you probably, Bill, have watched more Hard Knocks seasons than I have. I just got into it like in the last like year or two. What are just your overall thoughts from a fan perspective, somebody who maybe wasn't there? What are your thoughts on Hard Knocks, knowing the history of the show that you've watched?
It wasn't so like, I feel like a lot of people are very critical of it. And like, it definitely is. It's harder when you're covering a team that has like every starting spot is pretty much solidified, right? Like you're not coming into some QB battle or like rookies. I mean, maybe if Harrison didn't get hurt, maybe that would have been a bigger storyline, like rookie pushing for like a starting.
Yeah,
position.
right. The him versus Trey thing.
Yeah, like that could have been something, and obviously that was cut short. But I don't know. Like usually, Hard Knocks does focus on the low roster people who are like good stories, like the Cinderella story that like, oh, look at how good he's doing, but like knowing he has a really like long shot to making the roster, and then getting sad on cut down day when like the guy you watched all Hard Knocks gets cut, and like get a little happier when he gets signed to the practice squad. Like that's a very repetitive thing in Hard Knocks. So I wouldn't say it's like far off from like other stuff. I do think I said this a few times in the barbershop when we've talked about it. Like obviously they lost a preseason game. Like there's only 3 now, which takes away like some drama and some action from like an episode that they used to have. And then back in the day, like I don't remember when they got rid of it, but there used to be like cut down days throughout preseason. Like you had like you have to go from 90 to 75 or
right. That's
like that.
But it used to be 4 preseason games. Yeah.
And I've watched Hard Knocks since like probably like 2010 maybe.
Oh,
so
HBO Max, thanks you, brother.
Yeah. So like that was a big part too, where like you're following these like battles and they're like getting solved throughout the season, which is like making you mad or making you happy. You know what I mean? Like you're getting like more drama, I guess. So like I feel like it's just a harder product now with like less preseason games, no cut down days. And then now you have a playoff team, and usually they have like really crappy teams because it was like a punishment for the last like 10 seasons or so.
Right.
So I feel like all that, like I thought it was I mean, I'm a Bills fan, so like it's just like you said, like I'm not there, so it's cool to get like the inside scoop or like seeing things that are going on that like a normal fan wouldn't get to. So like I appreciate that. It probably wasn't the most exciting thing.
No,
I took joy in Josh Allen quizzing his lineman on like whatever, like all that stuff. I liked it. I thought it was fun.
I mean, I've told it to a couple buddies who are Bills fans, like, hey, like I get it. It's not going to be that entertaining. I don't know how many more times Hard Knocks is going to come back and do it with a team that actually has like sustained success and winning records. But also it's like, if you're a Bills fan, like take that as a sign of like, you have things pretty good. Because Hard Knocks has highlighted, I've watched like years in past where it's highlighted organizations, to your point, that are just in the crapper. The things are just not going well. There's a lot of answers. And like, yeah, you came into the season and you kind of knew early on, like there weren't going to be that many position battles, just one here or there, kind of a couple things. Like the backup quarterback battle was like fun until like after the Bears game. And then you kind of knew it was going to be Trubisky's job to lose, which it always was at that point. But I would tell like a Bills fan, like, be happy the fact that the Bills have buttoned it up so much that like you get to just let Josh Allen be the golden retriever that he is. And that like Jimmy Charlo was a really fun story. And Frank Gore loves chicken nuggets, dude. Like I remember one time watching like when Frank first got to the team, I think he was waiting for an Uber outside of the facility. It was so relatable because I mean, he was so new. He hadn't had his car into like Orchard Park yet. So like those kind of things, like when you relate to the player, even for someone who's like there every day, that's super cool. So
Chan Gailey 2011, 2012 season Hard Knocks would have been elite.
Oh my God.
With Nathan Roosevelt and Stevie Johnson and
electric.
That would have been an electric. Rat Fitzy, like that would have been a great fun. I mean, and that's classic Hard Knocks. Like you leave training camp being like, this is gonna be a surprise team, and then they stink again.
Yeah,
that would have been the perfect Hard Knocks.
Hand up, because that's why I bought into the Bears last year. I saw the Bears
every year it's like
in the preseason game. I like thought Caleb Williams was that guy. Drafted him as a backup quarterback on like every fantasy team because nobody was taking him. Wrong, like just couldn't have been.
I don't know if you watched the Brown. I think it was Browns 2019. That was.
I didn't see that.
That would have probably the most elite season. They had like the offensive line coach who was like
Oh,
450 pounds, and
Bob
his belly
Wiley
was
or
going up.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they had Odell was there, Jarvis was there, Baker was a rookie, and I remember they had like a promo for like Josh Gordon. They were like teasing him as if it was like a cut scene at the end of like a Marvel movie, like he was like showing up late because he was like suspended for like the 5th time or whatever it was.
Right.
And like it was him like coming through the airport, and that's how like the episode ended, was like it was just like leg, and then it was like arm, and then like, you know, just like feet walking,
Right.
and then it like zoomed
Building
up
up
and
the
was Josh
suspense.
Gordon, and you're like, oh my god, that season was sick.
The thing I love, like Hard Knocks, like rookie episodes, like when the rookies do like the skits and stuff.
Yeah, we didn't do that.
I would have loved to have seen like a couple of the
Yeah.
Bills rookies do that too, because the Browns one is so like Baker, I think, does a really good job in his, like when he's doing the GM Dorsey, like when he's kind of mimicking him. I think that was always really funny. I go back to like way like the 02 Ravens when like that one tight end did Shannon Sharp and like Ray Lewis was like those are like the best moments. I would have loved to have seen.
I can't
like
believe I totally forgot that. Like, yeah, we didn't get an episode like that at all.
I think was it the last episode where they went when they were in Chicago and they did like the guy who was giving them all like the fast scenarios, like basically the elite version of Simon Says, which like, by the way, I would have been out. Like I'm KJ Hamler.
I still don't know like what the rules. I don't know what the rules were. Still, I was like so confused.
I would have been out and be like I would have been out before KJ Hamler was. So I like kudos to him. So it was good, and I'm sure like I think like teams like the Bills, like they did let one with the AFC North last year. The Bills need to be like an in-season team. Like you can make some really good content of like when it's in season and like the storylines and like like. This team has not been short of juicy off the field storylines in recent years. So like there are things like that would definitely like be really good in terms of just getting the more broader perspective of the Bills and not just this training camp thing. So yeah, overall good. Last thing to wrap up, Bill, I meant to segue this in when we were talking about the new guys but give me a guy, and this is going off the new faces because I think this would be a really interesting point. Give me a guy to let the people know as we send this off for the first episode, in the spirit of everybody coming home, being a Buffalo Bill again. Who would you love to see be back in the Bills locker room?
Are we doing like strictly vibes or like actually going to help the team?
Vibes. Let's do vibes. You know, vibes. Let's do vibes since everybody. This person's likely going on the practice squad. Straight vibes guy.
He's going on the practice squad. You go first. Let me think a second.
All right. Mine is so easy, at least to me. It was Isaiah McKenzie. I mean, like he is like the third slot receiver behind Khalil Shakir and Elijah Moore. I'd almost think that like KJ Hamler would be better athletically on the field at this point, like bring him back for another shot. But Isaiah McKenzie, give me just the karaoke post practice with like him and Dion. And I think it used to be, trying to think. Was it
Taiwan Jones?
Taiwan Jones. That's what it was. Yeah, I almost said Smith. Yeah, Taiwan Jones. Like the three of them all together. Like Taiwan Jones would be another hilarious one. But like Isaiah McKenzie, just for straight vibes, I think would be so fun. Pay him whatever you got to do just to bring up the level. He's a great like mid-season. Like, hey, Bills are like 6-2 or like 7-1. Couple injuries, they're trying to grit it out. They know the weight of their shoulder, like the responsibilities on their shoulders. And then bam, Isaiah McKenzie just like at an IG live with Deion Dawkins is singing Pony by Genuine. It'd be hysterical. I loved
him. I was like the leader of the McKenzie fan club, so I'm down with that too.
Now he's migrated. Now your guy's here, Jordan Phillips. So there you go.
Yeah, that's my guy. I would say vibes, Marshawn Lynch.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. I would take Marshawn Lynch, riding the golf cart, going beast mode. I feel like Applebee's for Victory Monday. Everybody goes to Applebee's. Elite.
The 2-for-1 Long Island special. Yeah. Oh my God. To bring him on as like a player advisor and just let him just do him, like him and like his mind and like Deion's mind, like coming together would be instant comedy. I think that'd be so good. So Isaiah McKenzie for me, Marshawn Lynch for you. Both very, very good answers. Bill, before we wrap up the first episode, can you tell people where they can find your stuff in terms of we're on Twitter and social media? What platforms are you on? And what can we expect? Maybe a little tease on what you got cooking so far.
My ats are the Brother Bill, THEE, Brother Bill on Twitter and Instagram. I don't want to give any teasers.
That's fine.
I'm pretty, you know
I
what
like
we'll
it,
do though?
though.
We'll do like behind the director's chair or something about the previous week, and the next,
Good.
you know what I mean? The next episode we could cover some
Good. I
stuff.
like this, actually. It's
I
kind
gotta
of like
keep
our
it-
version of Hard Knocks.
I gotta keep
like
it
it.
secret. I can't let people know what's cooking in my brain.
No, I love that, actually. Like I said, it's going to be our version of Hard Knocks. Like, we're going to just take you behind the scenes and how the magic happens. So find Brother Bill anywhere on social media, all your major platforms you can go. I'm at Dom Tibbetts TV, TIBBETTS TV, X, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky. I think I have it all. Facebook, if your mom wants to tune in, because I think that's about the people still using Facebook at this time. We will try to drop episodes at least every week post game. So whether it's the Sunday game, expect one Monday, expect a Tuesday, et cetera, et cetera. Tons of bonus content coming too, as well as we kind of get this thing figured out. But it's our first episode. Just had to get this one off, and we are super, super thrilled to be doing this. Bill, I'm super happy that you agreed to do this, because I think we're going to have a lot of fun, and this is going to be super awesome. Just two dudes talking football. Thank you, and thank you to the listeners and the viewers who are watching this on YouTube. We'll see you next time. For Brother Bill, I'm Dom Tibbetts. This has been the Leading the Charge podcast. See ya.